Well, hello everyone. Woo! Yeah, you're right. You're right, Drew. A long intro tonight. Woo! Long story short, I have finally set up uh, everything on my new computer. So right now, the old computer is totally out of the equation. For the last couple of weeks, it's kind of been a half and half. Now it's totally out. So yes. So it took me an extra 2 minutes because I realized the whole chat inserts that I sometimes throw on here. Uh, yeah, that I like just like that one, Kurt. It they weren't going through, and I suddenly realized it's a new computer, and the link for to interface the chat with Facebook and YouTube is different now. So I had to go in and real quick switch that out. To make a long story short, too late. That's what happened. So thanks for sticking with me, and I'm glad I started I started the stream about 30-45 seconds early because that helped. And thank you, Janine. Thank you. Yeah, it is really exciting. It is a very nice setup. I cannot even believe it. For those that have remember, from shows past where I mentioned how much I'd tweaked everything, tweaked the graphics, tweaked the stream, all that kind of thing. And one of the things I mentioned was that it was going over 20% CPU just from OBS, not even everything else, just from the software I was using to stream. And yes, it is. It I was going over 20%. I got it down somewhere between 10, maybe as low as 8%, sometimes between 8 and 12%. And I was really happy about that. Right now, it is running at around 0.4% of my CPU. That is great. That is so nice. So anyway, whoa. Oh, and here we go. Oh, yes. And Alicia is back. So this is such a great moment because I've got the new computer finally up and Alicia is back in the chat after being absent for, I'm not even going to say how many months, but you're back. So I'm happy. Woo! Yes, yes. It is really cool to have her back in chat because trying to manage everything on my own is, well, let's just say if you wanted to know how much I valued you, Alicia, you did a great job in making sure I knew how much I valued you. So, yes, yes. Very true. Very true, Susan. I mean, yeah, you've got to. Um, Alicia does lead with that flag quite well. So, yeah, a lot of it's been another interesting week as always. I've spent most of the time, of course, with my computer trying to copy everything over, which is interesting. I, I I'd forgotten how many changes and tweaks I've done over the last couple of years to the old computer. Some of them, let's just be honest, were hacks. It was easy to copy over OBS, but I had to go in and tweak the network driver. Windows. I'm using Windows 11 now, so that's an interesting experience. So tweaked a lot of that and just got everything together. I mean, I just before the show I realized why is my audio so weird, and I realized a few of the plugins that I was using for my audio were outside of OBS, and I had to reinstall those. So it's been fun. It's been fun. Yes, yes, very, very true, very true. So, oh yeah, I didn't even get to say hello to everybody. I was so busy doing that. So, hello, Susan and Sarit and Drew and Kurt and Janine and Greg, and yes, Damaris and wow, I think that is that everybody. Chris and Katsurita. Okay, more or less. Wow. Yes, as a matter of fact, I do have two baskets. What I've been doing because I'm trying to set up a second basket for uh, a, a speaker so that when I'm busking, I can use that to project a little better in certain circumstances. I'm not a big fan of doing it that way. I like unplugged, but there are situations where it's either do that or nobody's going to hear you. So yeah, I'm just setting it up to be ready. So that is my custom uh, battery powered speaker basket. So we're all uh, branded. Actually, they would make really good laundry baskets, like when you're not using them for traveling. You know, just you're stuck at home or whatever. They would work great as a laundry basket. A slightly expensive one, but a nice one. So yeah, you could certainly double down on that. It's doable, totally. And Jan, I'm glad you made it. You got back from Scotland, so yes, very cool, very cool. I look forward to hearing about that trip because I'm sure it was a lot of fun. I mean, you spend over a week in Scotland, it's got to be fun. And oh, Susan, yes, multi-purpose is always what it's about. So yes, I've reset up a lot of different things. Everything seems to be running smooth over here. Let me know if there are any sound or video issues for you. Um, so yes, yeah, if there are any issues, just please speak up immediately. It is important. I because it's very possible I missed something. I don't think so, but we'll see. Oh, and hey, Adam, great to see you. Thanks for joining. But yeah, let's let's jump right in. I guess initially what I want to talk about a little bit was fairs in general, because over the next couple of episodes, what I'm going to do is talk about fairs. We have the summer session of fairs is really going on heavily now, and you really start to see a wide dispersal of a lot of different styles and types of Ren fairs in the summer. You get the more standardized ones that have been around for a long time in the spring and the fall, but in the summer it's a free-for-all and it's very interesting. Um, hello, Taylor. So yes, I kind of found it interesting. So I'm going to talk about that over the next few weeks, a little bit about different types of fairs in the history. And I wanted to start with, I guess, well, let's just talk about the different types of fairs real quick. Um, oh, that's Damaris. That is horrible. I'm just going to say that right now, right now. And you're not wrong. Colorado starts this weekend, and we'll be talking about that later when I get to the map of the fairs coming up. But before, I just wanted to mention types of fairs, and there are some pretty cool ones. I guess there's the obvious ones that you know. I mean, of course, you kind of start with the medieval fairs, and of course the standard Renaissance fair that everybody is familiar with. But then you get to these are all types of fairs from a time period, you know, a definitive time period. So medieval and Renaissance time. Now, of course, then you get to the Restoration and the time of the Musketeers, where that starts to get into the mid to late 1600s and the 1700s. And it's totally, they're not quite as common, but they are pretty interesting because they are different. So I think that's why people do it. The Musketeer ones, of course, more Three Musketeers, Dumas, French, and you get to see that more often in places that have more of a French influence. So it is kind of interesting. Then, of course, around Christmas time, you get to those Dickens fairs, and those are you're really just going on with the cat puns, aren't you? Okay, well that's fine. Oh my gosh, yeah. And the Dickens fairs, all based on that time period of the early 1800s, early to mid 1800s, and it usually, of course, that they're popular around Christmas because Dickens is popular around Christmas, and it's kind of ingrained in everybody's brain that A Christmas Carol is part of Christmas. So of course they jump on that when it's cool, and the clothing works pretty well for the cold weather, so that's always a bonus as well. Then you get to the fantasy fairs. And fantasy fairs, well, the first fair I ever went to was, well, performed at least, was Excalibur Fantasy Fair. So you get to the kind of the King Arthur type fair, the Sword and the Stone. All fantasy, not historically accurate really at all. Loosely based on a little bit of history maybe, but not great. But still, a lot of fun. And of course, you get to those fairy festivals that just fun for the family kind of thing. Kids love it. It's all about fun. Well, yeah, they're all fantasy fairs in a way, Drew. You're not wrong. Um, it's yeah, they kind of all um, yeah, well, okay, we're all gonna just stay away from who stole what from who, because that just gets into too much politics, and I try to avoid that when I can. Uh, but yeah, after the fantasy fairs is how I define them, Drew. So this is my definition, keep in mind. Then you get the group fairs, the particular types of groups that aren't necessarily from an historical period or from a concept, but range on a group, or are based around a group. And then you get the whole the Vikings, which one of the newest additions to those kinds of group fairs. I think, I mean, there's always been a fascination with the Vikings, but I think partly because of the TV show from several years ago, it really had a bit of a resurgence of interest, and the fairs have cropped up all over the U.S. as a result. Small, but they're really making some noise. So we'll see how long that lasts, if it's just a fad or if it's an enduring thing. But then, of course, you get the pirates. Now, pirates have always been a point of fascination, from the old swashbuckler movies to everything in pop culture. But you also had that Pirates of the Caribbean craze that really pushed pirates in the forefront at every single fair when it was first starting out. Then, um, what? I don't know what that. Well, okay. So yes. Uh, well, yeah, I'm not definitely not reading from a script. This is all me. But yeah, the pirates craze, that's still going on, even with the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial recently and all of those issues. Uh, Pirates, I mean, that just really accentuated the interest that was already there. So they're going to keep going. It's going to be a constant thing. That's not going anywhere. Then, of course, you get um, oh my gosh, you're right. Uh, then you get the Celtic festivals, and they kind of had a different. Really? Oh, looks like that's why did that make a noise? Oh, got down again. Okay, never mind. Um, it looks like Alicia got out of Facebook, so I hope Facebook is still going. It looks like it is. Um, but yeah, the Celtic festivals, they're kind of fringe because they have a different origin than Ren fairs. So yeah, there have been Celtic festivals before there have been Ren fairs in the U.S. anyway. But there's been a lot of crossover, especially when you start getting into the 90s, really jumped over a lot with because of Riverdance and Braveheart, um, well, and a little dash of Inya in the 90s. So in 1990, not many people wore kilts at fairs. It was very uncommon. And then in 2000, it was like a craze. Everybody was wearing kilts, and they had kilt shops there that just sold kilts at fair. It was a crazy night and day difference. So yeah, yeah, very different, very different. Um, then okay, well then you kind of get the real fringe fairs, like those ninja fairs. But I mean, you also get some of the fetish fairs, and you get then you in a different tack, you get the religious fairs that are kind of interesting in that they recreate the scenario recreates different scenes from religious history, and sometimes that is depending on how they do it, it can be very interesting or sometimes a little weird. But it is that those have started to become a thing recently, so you're starting to see those a bit. Then you have, of course, have the conventions, which are certainly have a different origin as well. But the sci-fi fantasy conventions, again, there's a lot of crossover. People put a lot of time on those costumes that they wear at the convention, so the cosplayers wear them at fair as well. And it at first it's pretty weird, but I get it. So okay, well that's true, Susan. But the thing was, so I was actually tried to a few people have tried to hire me for fetish fairs before for some clothing optional fairs. Not really my jam. So it's probably just remembering that. So yes, yes, yes. Thank you for the blush moment. Um, so always fun, always fun. Yes, I mean there were certainly some kilts at different places, and like I said, there was crossover where you had the Celtic festivals. Um, Vendors would go from to both. They would go to the Ren fairs and the local Scottish or Irish festivals, and of course, when you get in the Midwest or the North, I mean, you had a lot of the Celtic festivals were there, so those vendors would go to different places. It's a little more common, but it became more ubiquitous in the '90s. Um, and that's yeah, no, that is a good question, Greg. More musical guests. I mean, we did that a lot during the pandemic, and then uh, everybody kind of took a step back. I tried to keep Fairlife going just to maintain the channel and everything and have fun with it. But we have talked about it, and I think that's going to happen. That's going to happen in the not too distant future. I mean, probably not for at least a few months, but I am looking at that. That is on the list. So thanks for asking about that. Um, oh, yeah, you get that kind of thing sometimes. So yes, so I'll be talking about more about fairs and festivals and what influenced Ren fairs we know and love today in the next few weeks. But just I wanted to give you an idea of a little bit of the different types in my mind and things to think about. And if you have any thoughts or questions about an individual fair or fairs in general, shoot me a message because I'm going to be putting all this together over the next few weeks. Um, and yeah, yeah, definitely that's going to be part of it. And Janine, you're kind of hit the nail on the head there. It's mostly about everybody's out and about and traveling, and yeah, it's probably gonna start to get. We're gonna start to do more in the fall, is kind of the way I'm looking at it. But yeah, anyway, that's the long-term stuff. So yes, I also wanted to go ahead and mention that the coming up next week is the summer solstice or midsummer. So something to look out for. That will be on Tuesday of next week, not that tomorrow, but a week from then, and something to take a look at. It's the summer solstice is when the sun reaches its highest position in the sky, and it is the day with the longest period of daylight. So yeah, something to look for during all this heat, something for fun. But we've also got something a little more interesting considering the moon, because we have a supermoon coming up over the next few days. So starting tonight and going on through Wednesday morning, we've got the supermoon, or for the June supermoon, it's called the strawberry moon, because this is the month historically when strawberries ripen. But it's the other name for the supermoon. I love this, is a perigee syzygy. I know, perigee syzygy. That's the technical name for a supermoon. And I love that name. In fact, I'm so going to have to make that a character name for a D&D campaign in the future. That's going to be my next character, perigee syzygy. I love it. I love it. So do check tonight and tomorrow and even Wednesday morning and look at the moon. It will be a little bigger and a little brighter than you're used to. Maybe not enough to notice, but right when it rises, in the right when it rises on the horizon, you'll get a slight optical illusion, so it'll seem even bigger than usual. And when you combine those together, it really looks big. So that's the best time to take a look. Oh, no, I can't do that, Susan. I never use band names that are hard to pronounce. That's always a bad idea. Yeah, that's 101. Yeah, you just don't do that. I would never do that. Anyway. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yeah, yeah. And it's going to be even brighter the next few days. So definitely check it out. Should be a lot of fun, Katsurita. So yeah, it's definitely fun. And let's go ahead and jump into yeah, the fair map, because don't know what you're talking about. No idea. So yes, unfortunately, the Alaska Fair ended last weekend. So Oh well, we'll see Alaska, a fair at Alaska again sometime next year. I think there's only the one, as I recall. Uh, but yeah, still a good mix of fairs, and you'll notice a lot of fairy festivals as well and fantasy festivals going on. So it's definitely an interesting time. Uh, let's jump to it. All right, and let's see. Let's just start off with the standard Texas Viking Festival and Skaldic All thing that's still going on in Page, Texas, right in the center of the U.S. in the South, and then you get a lot on the to the east and to the west. They're really spreading it out a lot. And then let's jump over to let's let's just jump over to the top, and we have the McDudley's Midsummer Fest, and wait for it, Kalamazoo, Michigan. Wow, I'm hearing the dog whining next door, so I'm sorry about that. Um, yes, McDudley's Midsummer Fest and What in the world? It's really loud over there. Um, but yes, Kalamazoo, Michigan. So if you ever wondered where Kalamazoo, Michigan is, there you go. Then let's jump over to Newborn Village in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. So the Newborn Village Fair. So right up there. And then going down into Missouri, still White Hart Renaissance Fair is still going on in Hartville, Missouri. And then let's see if we can get all of this in here. Oh yes, the Kentucky Highland Renaissance Festival still going on in Eminence, Kentucky. And in West Virginia, the West Virginia Renaissance Festival in Lewisburg is still going on, so something to enjoy. And then we have the Faye Festival in Charlottesville, Virginia. That's only Friday and Saturday, but yeah, should be a lot of fun there. So one of those Faye festivals I mentioned earlier. Then you have the the Agosk Enchanted Valley Fairy and Pirate Fest in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. That's only Saturday, but it's definitely a different one. They really Enchanted Fairy and Pirate Fest. They spread it around a bit. That's always interesting. Can't be too boring with it, always. Then you get the Wheaton Arts Fantasy Fair in Millville, New Jersey. Always fun there. And up in the far northeast, you get the Berkshire Mountains Fairy Festival in Adams, Massachusetts. And of course, you have Robin Hood's Fair in Harwinton, Connecticut is still going on. Well, let's move west. And of course, Alicia mentioned earlier that the Colorado Renaissance Festival is starting up in Larkspur, Colorado. So that's a blast. Always a good time there. And in Utah, the Woodland Fairy Festival at Gardner Village in West Jordan, Utah is going on through Saturday. So something to check out. And oh, wow. I know, right? It's sounds like ducks over here. Wow, okay. Interesting. But yeah, I think for me there were some dogs really whining next door, and they were very loud for some reason. I don't know, but I think they're done now. Hopefully, we'll see. Um, then let's go up to Washington, because up there we have the Spokane Renaissance Fair in Colbert, Washington, and the Kitsap Medieval Fair in Bremerton, Washington. That's only on Saturday. Then over in Oregon, we have Fairy Worlds. So yes, Fairy Worlds in Eugene, Oregon, Friday 8 to Sunday. So that should be a lot of fun. And going down to California, still going on, is the Coronberg Renaissance Festival in Corona, California. So yeah. Oh wow, a lot of traffic, huh? From Larkspur on the way to camp a few years back. Yeah, there's Colorado. It's been a fair for a long time. For a good while, it was pretty much the only fair in the summer. I mean, the only big fair in the summer. So yeah, it really grew pretty quick because of that. It kind of had a monopoly for a while. Um, so very much a big deal. Anyway, let's see. Wow, I'm already getting close to the end. So let's jump into 7 Reasons. This 7 Reasons was brought to you by Alacia. She requested this one, so I jumped on it, and it's 7 reasons fairies are good for Faire. Now, we talk about fantasy fairs, and you can either like them or not. I mean, some people love the history more than the fantasy. I think a mix is always good, but yeah, 7 reasons fairies are good for Faire. So, so wow, 7 reasons my computer melted. You are okay. That's funny. That is funny. Um, 7 reasons fairies are good for Faire. Number 7, they're great for children. I mean, really, sometimes fairs can be a little overwhelming for kids, and they don't really have as much to do. Fairs have always struggled to try to get uh, enough stuff for kids to do. Whether it's, I mean, they usually have games of some kind, but entertainment, events, that kind of thing, it's tough. So yeah, I mean, they're really good for kids all around. Even if you don't emphasize it, they're still fun for kids. So it's a win regardless. Number 6, it's where actors can get their start. I mean, not all fairs do it this way, but many, what they do is if you're a new actor or very young, they'll start you in the fairy group. Because, well, you don't normally have to talk. You can just make little noises as a fae, and it's still entertaining and a lot less pressure. I'm not saying it's not hard, but it's a good place for people to get their feet wet to see if they want to continue on and do more types of characters at the fair. And it is right, right, right. Um, so yeah, number 5, um, bridges history and fantasy, because some fairs, I mean, at least with the cast, they tend to try to be somewhat historically accurate. You often cast is the most historically accurate thing at the fair. So what that does is it's a good bridge, because back then people believed in fairies. I mean, fairies were a common belief all throughout Europe. It is uh, at its, well, I mean, in many different forms. Um, so yes, that there was a belief there. So yeah, I think it kind of works in that it's sort of a bridge to fantasy and historical accuracy, and it works that way. So definitely a good thing. Number 4, colorful clothing. I mean, especially if you look at some of the pictures of the old 70s, 80s, even 90s costumes at fairs. A lot of them, color-wise, pretty bland, because historically, if they're historically accurate, they're pretty bland. Colorful outfits were not the norm unless you were really rich. So yeah, I think that really, the colorful outfits really help, especially with the overall color at the fair. It's nice. You can do colors that would not really work very well with any other type of outfit. So always a good thing. Uh, Number 3, possibility of a subculture. And that's what that is often fairies are kind of left alone. They're kind of left to their own devices. Um, they don't interact too often with the main cast. I mean, it happens at fairs, but I don't think that's the norm in my experience. Um, uh, uh, you can get a wide range of colors with historical dyes. That costs money, and it wasn't. I mean, you can, but some colors were actually pretty tough. So, and it depends on how far back you're going too, I think. Um, but yeah, anyway, uh, yeah, that you get that possibility of a subculture where they can have their own thing going on, their own king and queen, their own court, their own world, separate from the main one, and have their own area, and it really opens up some interesting possibilities for the scenario, and I think that can be a lot of fun. Um, so yeah, you also, wow, it's cutting off a little bit on there in the text. Okay, I'm gonna have to fix that. What this says is many different approach options. Okay, that didn't copy over right, I guess. Um, Many different approach options, and what that means is that fairies, they're not just one type of thing. And even in historical belief systems that they had, they can be very cruel, they can be very caring, they can be mischievous, they can be, I mean, there's a lot of routes to play them, and I think that's a great thing. Really, really great. And then, of course, number one, characters encourage silliness. I mean, uh, I think it really helps with um, it really helps with bringing a little more silliness into the fair, which is always a good thing. I mean, the cast tries to do it and often does a great job, but I think it definitely opens up some fun possibilities. You can really go over the top and justify it. So I think that's always a good deal. All right. Well, hey, look at me. I kind of managed to get in there just a little over 7 at 7:30. Yeah, a little over 30 minutes. If you count the time trying to fix the beginning part, yeah, I think that'll work. Yeah, I think I got about 30 minutes on it. So I'm starting to hit this right and do a good job. And I do want to thank Alicia for jumping in when she did. Looks like she got kicked out there halfway through it in Facebook for some reason, some technical glitch at her end. But I, yeah, hopefully she'll still be on next week and we can keep this going. Always fun. Whew. Uh, I'm sorry, what? What color are the cats on Andrew's cast? I don't know what that means. Cast? I mean the color in the background, if you're talking about the purple back there, cats? I don't really see cats. There's some knot work on there. But anyway, oh well. Ah, casting. Oh, I see. Sorry. Yeah, I know how. Not really a cat person. Sorry, it's the truth. My old bandmate Mark, he was the cat person. Broadcasting. Ah, okay. Streaming. Fair enough. Sorry, I'm reading a bunch of things right now, trying to keep everything straight. So and constantly looking at the settings and everything. Pun blindness, got it. Yes, I'm gonna be honest. I was pretty nervous about this show because going over to a new computer totally is. It's kind of like so many things could go wrong. I mean, and so far I think the only thing that went wrong was the alignment on the 7 reasons was a little off, and that's an easy fix. I'll fix that for next time. But I think we did pretty good. So thanks for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. Uh, from now on, it should be really smooth sailing, and this is going to allow me to try out a lot of new cool things. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are too. And definitely. Well, thanks, Susan. I appreciate that. I'll shoot for an A minus for next week. It's always those little things. So take care, everyone, and have a great week. Enjoy the moon because I think it's going to be a pretty one, and try to stay as cool as you can and drink a lot of water because, even at Faire, it can be pretty hot. Have a good one. Enjoy your week. And as always, have a fair life. Take care.